afternoon, everybody. We are living at a defining moment, a moment where AI is becoming a leadership priority across boards of directors, across the ambition of different startups and scale-ups, and across every decision of every investor. So there is a lot of noise, though, out there. Very different AI narratives, very different AI ambitions. What is scarce is clarity. And that's the purpose of the discussion today. What is the real value? How we can scale it? How we can create sustainable, meaningful impact with AI? And in order to do such a discussion, you need to have someone with you that is at that intersection. Ulrich Homann is an influencer leader who connects engineering with real enterprise transformation. Uli is a corporate vice president in Microsoft, and he works with innovation, and he not only envisions what's next, but also how to make it operational at scale. He sees both sides, so the innovation edge, but also how to execute on it. What works, what fails, what really moves the needle. I'm Yanna Andronopoulou, General Manager for Microsoft Greece, Cyprus, Malta, and I will hold this discussion today with Uli to dive in on what's real. So, Uli, you have a lot of experience seeing enterprises across the globe. What do you see that the builders mainly misunderstand today, and what do you see the large S500 companies doing today with AI? Where do they stand?
Well, I don't know what an S500 company is, but it's large enterprises. And so the big thing that I think a lot of people still look at, they look at AI as a technology. And while it is a technology, it's much, much more. And it's really two things more that are really important. The first thing is it's a transformational force of everything we do in the enterprise. Every single aspect of how we operate and what we do will be touched by AI. In what way we will figure out over time, but it's very clear. The other piece, it's a computational paradigm that's changing expectations, also approaches. So think about the co-pilot work, the chat phase is what I call it, that already has lifted the expectations of people completely up to a point where now applications have to be able to be spoken to, you have to be able to chat, you don't want to hear complex menus, complex configurations, all of these things are already gone, and that's just through chat. Now when we go at the next phase of AI, which we'll talk about later, then obviously the expectation will go even higher. And I think that's something that we need to think through, both what's the transformational force that we want to apply, how do we want to apply it, and then how do we use these technologies to meet the bar of where the user population, the people that still use the system, that still pay for those systems, actually want to be. And I think that's really the biggest issue that's going on. The other half of it is a lot of people have done a lot of prototyping, a lot of efforts in terms of getting use cases identified, trying to build them, but they forgot to build the enterprise architecture that supports this. So individual prototypes work, but they will never scale. So thinking through how you bring security, data, governance, all of these other fundamentals into your enterprise is going to be the real work and the real opportunity also to help those customers get there.
That truly resonates also with what we see at this area of the world, discussing with our enterprises here. Let's move a little bit to the AI agents. There is a lot of noise about AI agents, and people are also discussing that maybe it might be the end of SaaS. What do you see working, and what do you think about this?
Well, let's first talk about agents. First of all, they are all very real already. There's companies that hundreds or thousands of agents already in operation, sometimes unknowingly, because people have been building agents with various tools, be that Copilot or ChatGPT or others, without IT knowing and without governance, which from my perspective is a problem, but it's real. And what we're seeing now is what I call phase one of the agents. Phase one of the agents is we have enterprise systems, ERP, CRM, billing, whatever those might be, and we're layering AI on top of it to automate the function. And that's requiring already a lot of work with respect to what is the data access, what's identity for these agents, how do we govern them, how do we make sure that the knowledge that they acquire through interaction with the systems stays persistent within the enterprise for further use, what we call memory. Those kind of capabilities are becoming clear. And that's phase one. Phase two, I think, will be challenging. What's the implementation of those business processes? How do we go and say, will we continue to run an ERP or CRM system the way we do? In some aspects, yes, because anything that is deterministic or requires regulatory approval, like financials, will continue to be a business process you buy. But other things where people say, I have distinct know-how, I have a distinct differentiation in the way I do things, I think people will build more applications themselves using agents. And I think that's going to be interesting. But it all comes down back to what are the fundamentals that an enterprise needs to implement in order to really go there. And again, it starts with identity, observability, security, and data. Those four will require work from the industry, from founders, but also effort from the enterprises in order to really make this work. Now let's talk about SaaS. SaaS is not dead, despite what people think, because what do people buy when they buy SaaS? They buy, of course, an application that provides some function. But they also buy a system that's highly available, disaster recoverable, it's globally available, it understands local laws, it understands taxes in 50 US states, in 27 EU nations, and stuff like that. All things that are not easy to build. And therefore, SaaS will morph, and I think they will morph into two things. First, they will become a platform for other people to build applications on, agents. Microsoft Dynamics, or D365, is moving into this age where all layers in the capability are exposed as MCP servers and skills. So you as builders can now build on top of the Dynamics platform, leverage what we built, but then customize it for whatever the scenario is. The second thing is AI gives SaaS vendors opportunities to become truly individual, truly personalized, and thinking through how you can go from building a system that kind of works for what you need to do to a system that really works for what a customer wants it to do, and do it in a way that doesn't require recoding, that doesn't require months of customization, but providing the right data, providing the right behavior, and the system learns how to adapt the way it works to the way you work. And I think that's going to be really important.
Thank you very much. Very well framed and providing the clarity.
I'm in the EU. I always remember this when I can't drink from the water thing, because I like, where do I do this?
So, you see a lot of organizations. Some of them are able to derive real value from AI. What they are doing well, according to your opinion, and also seeing also some organizations failing. Where is the problem? Is it on the data, on the governance, on the organizations not being ready?
Well, unfortunately, it's all of the above. But the key thing is that a lot of scenarios are being driven from the technology up. And while there's some value there, when you say, oh, I'm so excited about the capability of model A or B or C, let me see what I can do, I think that's useful. But real value in an enterprise comes when it's from the business down. When you really understand the business process, the scenario, what does this enterprise try to achieve? Or what are the pain points for the enterprise? Where do they bleed money? Where do they have inefficiencies? That's where, if you use that, then you can focus on value for the enterprise. And a lot of companies start from the tech and forget the business side of the house. You need to combine both, but at the end of the day, without the business understanding, you ain't going to win. And then it comes back down to the fundamentals: security, identity, governance, data. I will repeat this over and over and over again, because that is the problem. We don't have the data that's ready. We don't have security identified in a lot of cases. We don't know how to run identity for agents. We do, but today a lot of enterprises are not ready for this kind of change to scale the agentic AI workforce. So that's, for me, the biggest set of things. If you have weak governance, if you're technology-driven instead of business-driven, if you don't really have the fundamentals built out, that's when you break down.
To the key foundations you mentioned, we have in the audience a lot of startups and scale-ups, okay? Given the fact that there is limited budget, there is a need for innovation and speed, how would you balance speed, innovation with security, governance? And if you would give an advice to the founders and to the builders, where they should invest first? Data, models, governance, guardrails, tools.
So the model debate is going to be fun for the next years, months to come. But I personally think it starts with the fundamentals. The speaker before us, I forgot her name. She was awesome, by the way. I thought did a really good job that there is opportunity. And the opportunity is linked to AI, but it's not dictated by AI. It's actually by your imagination and your understanding of the business scenarios that customers are willing to pay money for. AI is just a tool to make it happen. And as Microsoft has shown last week, everybody talked about Mythos, and everybody talked about OpenAI's security model. We silently almost shipped a capability called M-Dash, which is an intelligent usage of many models to effectively beat Mythos and OpenAI security at their own game. And so from my perspective, if you understand what the business problem is you try to solve, use AI in an intelligent fashion, you will come out as a leader also in the startup business or in the enterprise. But again, it comes also back down to you got to think through what are the no-regret technology investments. You mentioned some of it, data, memory, understanding the business scenario, and really making sure that when the customer buys your solution, the security and governance is built in. And alignment with the emerging standards is really important. If you as a startup come in with your agent and they cannot be managed and monitored in a consistent fashion, the enterprise will say, I can't use you, man, because I can't manage it. So there's emerging standards in the Open Telemetry group for observability. There is work going on to standardize identity for agents and so forth. And startups are really well advised to understand those and align with them as early as possible so that you can go into the enterprise and be managed, be governed, so that you can A, help yourself, and then obviously help your enterprise customer.
And as gradually every company becomes an AI company, okay, the role of the developers changes. So the developers, how they will evolve? They will be an AI orchestrator of agents. What is the one thing you will say that they should stop doing today, and what they should start doing?
Well, I would go back to becoming a developer because I used to be one. And I always got carpet tunnel syndrome from typing. That is gone because I don't think you will type much code anymore. But what you will do is two things. The first half is understanding the business problem. Understand the product. What are you trying to build and why are you building it? And why are you building it now instead of yesterday or tomorrow? So this whole program management or product management scenario is going to be important. Really good software developers are actually also good product managers. That's half. The other half is AI is very good at writing code, but it's not yet good at understanding system architecture, system constraints, because sometimes you might be memory bound, sometimes you might be latency bound, sometimes you have other constraints that are not expressed in the product that are these non-functional requirements. And AI doesn't understand it yet. So your thinking has to be, what's the system architecture? How I design, where do I place code? In the client, in the back end, what do I do? So effectively, these choices that we all have, those are things that you have to make and then guide AI to support those choices and implement them in the right way. Writing code, getting carpet tunnel, that's over. But really thinking through the what and then designing the how, but only on the structural level, that's going to be the future. And it's going to be exciting because that's ultimately what architects do. And I think really good software engineers are good architects, in addition to be good product managers.
Yes, really exciting times for developers. I think having this system architecture view and product management view. Great said. A last question, Uli. If you would like to leave with an advice to this audience about how to get real value out of AI, what would be your advice?
So build for impact and don't build for show. AI is unfortunately very suitable to build showy things and dazzle the audience where it doesn't have the substance to really solve the business problem. Go for something that's durable, that's really valuable to the audience you're trying to serve, over the flashiness. And then go back and saying, what are the no regrets investments we need to make? Security, data, governance, that kind of stuff, and then build a great solution. And that's, for me, the way to win. And that hasn't changed because we have AI. Because that has been true for a while, maybe forever. And AI just helps you do it in different ways, more intelligent and faster. And that's the other piece we need to make sure is all of the solutions we ship have to understand that the bar, what the users expect from you, is going up. So you can't build bad solutions. You have to really think about how does interaction flow naturally? What does voice look like? Can I redirect in your application like I can redirect in a Copilot or in a ChatGPT system? Because that's what the users expect. Instead of you finishing your job of showing the information, the user says, let me look at that record, right when you're still doing it. Can you interrupt your execution and say, of course, let me go look at that record and go deeper into the scenario. So think substance over flashiness, think business scenario, think fundamentals, and you will win.
Thank you very much, Uli, for giving to this audience a very clear framework about how to derive value out of AI. Let's see how this audience moving forward will inspire us back with what you will create based on technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.